Man, okay. I've been excited to come to Rochester, and I have been also nervous. I mean, I cannot tell if y'all have a mountain lion or not. Listen, I can only go off of what I've been watching. And what I've been watching, I'll just walk you through it. What I saw was a news report. This news report was of someone's Ring camera. I like that the whole community is involved in the surveillance. I like that this wasn't CCTV footage. This was, a person's Ring camera. And in the Ring camera, there is what might be, probably is, definitely looked like a mountain lion going for a late night stroll. Fantastic. The mountain lions have heard that Rochester is a place worth parking. And so the mountain lions have shown up, and one particular mountain lion was letting himself be seen. That ended up on the news where I saw it. And I was like, that does look like a mountain lion. But then the internet being the internet, there were plenty of people that were like, mountain lion, that's a cougar. Nothing makes me want to get into it with people than well, actually, that's so beside the point. A very big cat is walking around Rochester. Cougar, mountain lion, help me with the major difference. And then people initially, when the report came out, there was a shelter in place order, right? And I heard about the shelter in place order, and I was like, order? Who was fighting to get outside knowing there was a mountain lion out there? Who was like, y'all know I always wanted to pet one. This is so unfair. Every time something fun happened, I gotta stay inside. Shelter in place order is crazy. I saw people commenting online off the video, and I saw some people that were like, "Aww." Please tell me you understand that if that awe is taken to a mountain lion, that will be the last noise you make. Oh, so sweet. Licking it. Let's go say hi. Oh. Oh. Wow, okay. And then from there, people contacted the zoo, and to y'all's credit, y'all's zoo was like, hey, nah. Everybody here's supposed to be here. Okay? We not just loose with the gates like some other zoos have been. We got all our cougars, we got all our mountain lions, every cat is here. And the fact that this thing was just strolling as well. It's not running around. Everyone that says they've seen it, it's quickly become this urban legend / mascot of Rochester. Because then the people that have seen it, and look, I'm not saying that if you've seen it, you were supposed to tackle it and take a selfie with it. I believe the people that say they saw it. I believe one person in particular that says that he saw it. I believe the man that your news interviewed that said that he saw it. This man should just be an anchor. The man is on the news, and they turn, and he went, rawr. And I was like, go on. So far, this is very believable. He's like, it went rawr, and I was like, ooh, I'm good. No, none of that. No. I like how that's how you get away from wild animals. It's like, because admittedly, look, I'll tell you, as a black person, that's exactly what's happening. If you see a wild animal out in the not wild, you start conversing with it like somebody you owe a lot of money. Hey, look, no, hey, listen, no, look, no, please, no, no, bruh, no, thank you, no, please. Look, nah, later maybe, but no, not today. Oh, Lord help me, oh. This man gives this interview, he says he saw a row, and then he was like, no, I'm not messing with you, no, thank you, no, I'm out of here. No, I don't mess with lions, tigers, bears. Good policy. These are good things to keep in mind. I don't mess with any of them. And then my favorite thing about the interview wasn't that he was like, it could be anywhere. It could be in those bushes, as this man looked up. This is why this dude is like low-key one of my favorite people of all time, because I know exactly everything that's going through his thought process while he's talking to the news, and I also could put myself in this situation when he saw the mountain lion. No, it could be in one of these bushes, anywhere. He stopped just short of what I probably would have said, which is like, it could be anywhere. Anywhere, these bushes up here. It could be in the house. It could be you. We don't know each other. Like, how we know he didn't stand up, tuck the tail, and was like, reporting live? Matter of fact, roll up your sleeves. Let me see how furry you are. No, my favorite thing about this interview was that this man gave the interview in broad daylight, explaining what he saw while holding a bat. It's like, that's why I keep it with me right now. That's why I got it on me. And I'm like, yes, but no. No, that's why sometimes I don't like the movies that Hollywood makes, that, you know, they put scenes out there that wouldn't go the way that we've imagined. You know, you put Idris Elba in one movie with a line, and now people think they could fend off a mountain lion with like not a thick bat. Like that bat looked like Pee-wee grade. That was not a slugger, you know. He was like, no, if it come near me, if it comes anything, no. And then y'all did not help the situation. Because then you started posting AI of y'all with the mountain lion. This woman said she heard a row and she looked and he was in the bakery. And I'm like, I'm believing it I'm believing it till I see the picture. I'm over here being like, man, this woman chill. This woman a straight gangster. She's not just a baker. It was in her store. And they showed the picture. I was like, y'all gotta stop playing. This is supposed to be the news. I was sitting there getting mad. I was like, all right, some of these clearly look fake, but a couple of them don't. Look, you can either post an AI image or you can interview the person. Don't do both. That's disrespectful to my man who's probably still carrying a bat right now. You all over here scared him, making him think the mountain lion everywhere. That is, no, look, don't approach a mountain lion. If you see a mountain lion, there's a whole number you're supposed to call, so some like actual professionals come deal with the mountain lion. That was another little gripe that I had that I will admit. I was like, because I was in my head, I'm like, I'm coming to Rochester. What if I see his mountain lion? I should probably memorize this number. And instead of being in any way catchy, in any way memorable, this number isn't 1-800-SIGHTING. That would be too many numbers, I understand. But like this number is just 1-375-2280. Like it was just such a regular number. I was like, no one will remember that. You couldn't even make a number. You couldn't even make it like 1-800-GET-CATS. Not even try. Now I'm over here, I see the mountain lion, I don't have a bat on me, anything. I'm doing the regular thing, the thing that we know to do. No, I'm not messing with you. I'm not playing with you. Get away from me. Oh no, oh geez, right? And now I'm trying to call the number and I'm like, 1. Now I'm over here, somebody knows the number. That's insane. That's too earnest. Don't. That's we. Imagine though, because this is my thing. This is just my thinking. If I saw the mountain lion, right, and it was over here, not just minding its like ring camera business, not just going about his day. Maybe I saw the mountain lion. The mountain was like, "Hey, city ain't big enough for the both of us." I'm not gonna lie, just for the sake of brevity, I would probably call 911. But the idea that there's a whole extra set of numbers to call if you see the mountain lion makes me wonder that like if you call 911, they'll be like, a mountain lion? You called the wrong 911. Look, I'll give you the number, call, write it down. You can't transfer me? No, we 3 numbers, they're 10 numbers. You just can't transfer like that. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, I'm just praying I have a good time in Rochester. I don't see a mountain lion in the very high bushes y'all have. Y'all have been busy since I've been gone. Y'all have had a string, multiple robberies. See, I haven't even specified yet, and y'all have had a string of robberies of the mail. I was reading about it, mail carriers are getting robbed, and that's just, I like an unboxing as much as the next person, but like that's truly insane. It's mail. It's more likely you stealing bills. Imagine. Oh, would have been great if somebody had robbed my house when I only had bills in it, you know? I can't even imagine what that would be like for the mail carrier, because it'd be different if you're like a Brinks truck. It'd be different if you went to wherever, because they go everywhere and they do these shipments from different places and stuff. It would be different if you went to like, you know, some grocery store, they had to do their deposit, you show up with the truck. They always have like 2 of them there. And I used to think that was for security, but the worse the economy gets, I'm like, nah, that's so somebody doesn't quit on the job. That's so somebody doesn't just drive off with the truck. There's at least one other person there to keep you accountable. But they'll have the person who's like loading up the truck or loading something in from the place that they're picking up from, and then they'll have one person just sort of standing there, looking at everybody. I used to work at a grocery store. This exact thing would happen. Like they would come with the truck and there would be somebody that looked at everybody like a suspect. You would have grapes in hand, and he'd be like, "What's up though? Like you trying to?" It's like, "I'm trying to, check out, get rung up." It's like, okay, all right, likely story, but okay. And then, they go off, they deliver it to the bank or whatever. I can only imagine if you work at the mail. And somebody roll up on you. Maybe they have a gun, maybe they don't. And they're like, hey, come up out of everything. I don't even think you'd be trying to be brave. I think out of genuine confusion, you'd be like, the mail? Yeah, everything you got. It's like, I can tell you right now, because of the route that I'm on, none of these about to be checks. You know what I mean? Because it's not even like they're robbing the mail carrier of like the best neighborhood. You just robbing the mail in hopes. It would be different if this was like the 1800s. It would, because back in the day when they robbed trains, those trains did bring like mail with them. And a lot of that mail was like, from bank to bank, or somebody sending something to someone that was precious. You had these great train robberies and everything. Now, you'd be sorely disappointed if you were to hop on an Amtrak. You're like, okay, everybody, this is a robbery. It's like, all right, first of all, let me tell you right now, every single car in that Amtrak, bathroom destroyed. So already, you get on the Amtrak, you'll be like, all right, everybody, this is a... Oh, one of y'all sick? What? Because people used to carry their belongings on them, and now it's just one belonging. Like now it is, the phone's more important than the wallet. For some people, the phone is the wallet. That's why when some people forget their phone, I'm like, y'all didn't take life seriously at all today. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one thing if I forget my ID, or if I forget one of my like cards, or if I forget my keys or my AirPods. Like you do the little check before you go, make a song out of it, right? It's very different if you decided, hey, I'm gonna put everything in the phone, that way it's all in one place. Some people even put the card in the little pouch behind their phone. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, this is a horrible idea. Just attaching the wallet to the phone. And they're like, no, now everything's in one place. I'm like, yeah, you made it easy for the mugger. That's all you did. You still gonna be forgetful. I don't know why we think that like changing that thing will like change us. Do you know what I mean? My friend is very forgetful. But then he's like, no, if I just put it all in one thing, I'll be fine. I'm like, no, you'll forget more at once. Your day will be worse. Because then I already saw this, right? You saw that they put the phone into the back of the case, into the wallet, right? All one thing. Then they were like, why even use a case? Let's just mush the credit cards into the phone, let everybody pay with their phone. So now, a lot of my friends don't even carry credit cards. It's just the phone. So now when you forget your phone, I'm like, who are you? The phone was your ID, it was your credit card, it was your phone. This is what's crazy about losing a phone now, not just on top of like how much we keep in it, but my friend locked himself out of his house because he had put his keys in his phone. Because they have that thing now where certain scan, you can scan and then just boom, click, and then the door opens. He did that because he was like, why keys? Keys are so archaic. Why am I, and then pitched it to me like this. Why am I just walking around all day jingling? What am I, the crypt keeper? Why am I running around here, cling, 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 cling? No. That is entertainment for babies, all right? Only thing that keys are good for, put the keys into the phone. And then with the credit card, he was like, why am I just carrying around plastic all the time? All the time. Then the card expired. You don't even know the card was about to expire. So then you over here trying to pay for your groceries looking dumb. Looking over here. No, I swear, there's money in the account. I don't know why this is happening. You got the Brinks guy staring at you like, all right, you said it was all about grapes, but it looked like it's not all about grapes. So what's really hood? Now I put the card in my phone. I put the keys in my phone. I got everything all the time. And I'm like, all right, but what happens when you don't have the phone? Because you're telling me all this as like the reason to put everything inside of one thing. But now you're locked out. You're locked out of your apartment and you're sitting in my apartment. Somebody who uses a key to get in. I don't know. I feel bad for you. You gotta use this archaic technology. You gotta turn it with your wrist like you're from 2000 BC. And then that's the other thing that was crazy. It's like all these things that were for ease, he ended up being so much worse off because I told him, I was like, you didn't even have your phone on you to call me. You had to find me. Do you realize how much crazier that is? If you had kept it all separate, if you had diversified your belongings, and then realized, ooh, I forgot my phone. Let me use my key to walk back into my apartment and maybe send an email to a friend or let someone know I'm gonna be late, right? Or if I had, forgot my key, I now have a card and a phone to either call someone else who has the key or just go to, where we keep our spare key. You can go where you keep your spare key. Because you keep a spare key, right? You keep one physical copy, right? You keep one physical key and then you keep your phone key because one of those keys isn't dumb. And he was like, why would I have a backup regular key? Just so somebody can find that key, break into my place, and steal all my belongings. I'm like, it sounds like you have one belonging. It sounds like... I'm waiting for when they do that. I'm waiting for when Apple is like, no, put the couch in the phone. Just trying to get you to sit on your phone to be comfortable. And then when your phone cracks, it's like, oops, maybe that was a bad idea, but you will need a new phone. We're doing all this stuff and it's just doing too much. Doing too much. And then you get to the place where you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing. You get to the place where you're robbing the mail. Truly for what? At best, it might be like a blender. If you are robbing the mail and it is not an Amazon package, you're already losing. Because when I tell you right now, this mail that you're stealing, this like paper that you're stealing, is paper that the people it's going to don't want. Forget bills. This is like begging people to open up a new credit card. It's begging people to subscribe to a magazine they subscribed to one time. It's just asking for money. And then you do that, and then you open all that mail in your place, which is also against the law. You doubling up on felonies. What's the plan here? Because now you've opened the check. let's say you got a check. Let's say somebody still works in 1990. And let's say that you got the check. What is the plan now? To go to the bank and be like, hey, I'm 8 people. No. But who knows? Maybe the banks in Rochester just cash whatever y'all bring. I have no idea. Maybe this makes sense. I know it's been spoken on already, but I am genuinely, I've been looking it up, I've been educating myself, and I'm fascinated at the origin of the garbage plate. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm not here to talk about if it's good or not, or the aesthetic or anything like that. I'll get to the aesthetic, but like the name. I don't know. This is what I think happened. This is okay. Look, I'm pitching you what I think happened because we didn't have to get here. Anything that is good does not also have to have like a derogatory name, right? But I think that like something happened. Something happened where like I live in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, and New York City is very dirty. There's a lot of garbage out. No alleys, just street. I remember the first time when I moved to New York, because I moved to New York with very little frame of reference of what New York would be like. And so I moved to New York and I saw the trash on the street and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know we were in a state of emergency. I had no idea. I picked the wrong time to move because the garbage, and piled up too, almost organized in its chaos, piled up about waist high at the sidewalk, you know? And then I realized that's what you do there. You put the garbage on the street. Like for a day, well, not a day, for like 3 days out of the week, we are the garbage. And somehow nobody has seen fit to just make an alley. Isn't this one of the oldest cities in America? At any point in time, somebody could have been like, look, we're gonna have to like eminent domain this one brownstone so that everybody doesn't have to live like the apocalypse happened 5 months ago. It will be a beautiful day in New York City. You'll be walking happy. And then you will, as an adult, I thought I smelled all the smells. As a grown person, I was positive I'd even smelled all the mixes. And sometimes you'll be walking in New York City and it will be a beautiful day. It'll be a picturesque day. It'll be one of those days that they direct movies with the scene that you're seeing. It's almost like God's cinematography. When you look around New York City, the sun is coming up. There's that golden hour, everything's shining off, the building's just perfect. Maybe you walking and you walking with somebody you love, you holding hands and everything. And then you even go to say, I love you, right? You go to express, because you get swept up in this moment, this beautiful, beautiful moment that somehow you can only experience in New York City. Plenty of places are beautiful, but this moment can only happen in New York City. And you go to say, I love you, but that means you open your mouth. And so now this person whose eyes you were looking deep into, you go, You can't even describe it. You can't even describe. The only thing that even comes close to it is if you like ran onto like an Amtrak train with the bathroom door open. You've never felt or smelled anything like that. You felt like you were walking through a cloud when it happened. And now you're doubled over. That moment has happened in New York City for as long as New York City has been around. Since its founding. Since they were like, no, just mush them together. Nah, everybody want to live here, mush them together. No, it's... and on top, too, let's build up. No, it means more trash, but it means more people to, pay more taxes for us to still not have figured this out. Look, it's a phenomenal idea. There's no way, no, you can't cut through these buildings. You can't tear something down. No, that'd be crazy. This thing is worth $2 million. This piece of property that nobody wants, that no one will ever want, is also worth $2 million. No, we can't make it an alley. That would be useful. And so, I think maybe somebody saw that entire situation. And they were in Rochester and they were eating at one of their favorite places and they were like, that looks exactly like what's in front of me right now. I've seen it and I feel like there were other names because there were other words available. You know what I mean? This is how I'll put it. It would be like if I baked a cake, right? If I baked a cake and it was a triple chocolate cake, right? So, and not just triple chocolate in the way that's like chocolate layer, chocolate layer, chocolate layer. Let's say I really took my time. I really did something like decadent. I really made like one layer almost like chocolate chip cookie. It's a little bit more brownie than it is like cake. And then the layer above that, I went a little bit like dark chocolate with it, right? And it had a little bit of filling in the sides of it that was also like something you don't usually get in chocolate cake. And then the top of the chocolate cake, very light. Very, like, not the, like, fondant type stuff, like very light icing and a very, like, moist top, melts in your mouth, right? And then you had this chocolate cake and it was actually, let's just say for the sake of the argument, the best chocolate cake you've ever had in your life. Incredible. You were moved by how good this chocolate cake is because you never had chocolate cake like it. This might make you act different, move different throughout your life. You never had chocolate cake like this before. Never has somebody put chocolate cake on a dish and then you put fork to cake and then fork to mouth and cake to mouth and then felt this good about your life and yourself, right? It's never happened before. And so then you ask because now there's a different person. You're a different person when you had the cake, before you had the cake, and after you had the cake, right? You're about to move through the world with more love, knowing that there's cakes like this to be had. You're about to spread the good word of this cake because more people should have this cake. More people should feel this happiness, right? And you take a break from chewing, from everything, to ask me, what kind of cake is this? And instead of saying triple chocolate cake, instead of listing the ingredients, you ask me what type of cake it is, and I say, Dookie. I called it Dookie, because, No, because when you look at the plate, you know what I mean? No, it looked like Dookie, so I called it Dookie. That makes it more enticing, doesn't it? Have another slice of Dookie. That's when I garbage plates. They may have found signs of ancient life on Mars. And I don't know how that helps us. That's y'all did it. You know what I mean? Ancient life on Mars. Not current life. To my understanding, they have found signs that somebody used to be there. Okay. All right. Imagine somebody coming to you and being like, this place used to be cool. Because I've thought about that. I've thought about how, what if, let's just say, for the sake of argument, what if there was like ancient life on Mars? And like ancient beings, we're not talking about like little microbes or anything like that, like intelligent beings. Like obviously we would call them aliens and everything because they're over there, we're over here. But like they lived on Mars. And then even though they're intelligent beings, they didn't always act in a way that was intelligent. You know what I mean? They didn't take care of themselves, each other, or their planet. And maybe they built out systems that didn't actually benefit all of them, just a few. And then it got to a point where they were not just unhappy with each other, they were unhappy with their planet, a planet that they had basically ruined. It used to be dope, and now it's whatever it is now. And so then they worried that there was no way to reverse course. There was still time, but they were like, what are you gonna do? And so then over time, remember, this is ancient. Remember how long the universe has been around. They looked around and they were, in some ways, very intelligent, maybe intelligent enough to find another place to live. And maybe they find a place, and maybe it's called Earth. And maybe they went to Earth and they, been on Earth for so long, they forgot where they came from, but being intelligent beings, they made all the same mistakes all over again. And so then there comes this day where they look around and not really happy with themselves or each other or their planet. And rather than hopefully not wrecking it or themselves, they're like, what if we went to Mars? I don't know, maybe there's something there. Because I do think that, I don't know, I feel like that's as likely as finding life on Mars. Because that is where we're at for the most part. There's a lack of belief in the idea that you can still build community, or the idea that people can still see each other as people. That's incredibly troubling and scary. I think that we rely now on communication that is more served to us than we seek out. We feel like we seek it out because we're discovering it in real time. In real time, you are discovering your For You page. In real time, you are discovering when you're scrolling, and you feel like because you're making the choice to scroll that it's the choice what you see next, but it really isn't. And based on a bunch of things about you, we think we're shaping the algorithm, and it's a high likelihood it's the other way around. Because based on how you've built your habits gets based on whether you get served contempt or compassion. And so then when it's time for us to talk, we have a very different view of how people are in the world. Like all of social, all of this stuff, every platform, it's just a mirage. But when you're out in the desert by yourself, which it feels like a lot of people feel that way. A ton of people feel like they're out by themselves, right? And you see this thing up ahead and you think you know what it is, and it turns out to be a mirage. It's very hard to convince anyone of that idea. And so that's what I watch more of than anything else. It's just the idea that, like, I know what's going on. I know what people are saying. I know how people think, and I've got a big picture of everything that's going on. It's like, I promise you have a snapshot. No person, no single person online is one thing. No idea is one shared belief by everyone. And once again, no matter what you do, even when you think you're gaming the system, even when you're like, but I log out sometimes, I guarantee you, you're being served a certain amount of contempt and a certain amount of compassion, and it's all driven to keep driving you. You want to know what people think, you want to know how people are, you just talk to people. This is the only way to find out. If you want community, you build it as best as possible. And you build it in any way that you can. Some of that will include being online. Some of that, I'm not talking about like talking to your friend in a DM. I'm talking about like the way we see each other is so important. And the way we see each other is being like molded and affected without people understanding that they didn't actually get to participate in some of this. You don't know what impact you have to anyone that's like outside of your sphere. It's why I do my best. I'm not perfect, but why I do my best to be, hopefully, the best version of myself all the time. Because people are only gonna see a sliver. So if what they see is good, maybe they'll think the world's a little bit better. And if they see bad, they might think the world's a little worse. And it goes moment to moment. And no matter how much you try to put out, you can still get drowned out. But I know that when I see people, when I see anger, when I see hate, when I see love, when I see compassion, I know that I'm seeing all of it at one time. And then the real mix of it that's out there is different than what's in my phone. The same way you shouldn't put your keys and your wallet and your... Do you know what I mean? The same way that if you put everything in the phone and then you lose sight of what you're up to, you're lost. It's the same way that you cannot just trust that what you're seeing and what people are saying, and these people as well, these people, whoever these people are. Because that's the other thing about opinions online. It's the other thing about people online. We didn't vote for like a king or queen of online. Somehow any person saying anything is representative of everybody at any given point. That's not possible. I wish it was what was happening when it was like a smart person. But like, who knows? Like, smart people usually don't keep you online because they're like, hey, you should live your life. It's very bad for business. When people live their lives and when they meet people and when they talk to people and they have real conversations with people, when they really sit down with people and they get to know people, that's scary. It's scary for everybody who benefits from what you're like when you're just on your phone. You need to be very, very careful of how we look at other people, how we judge other people, because I'm telling you right now, this thing will run away from you. You will leave the house thinking the entire world is the devil without ever having checked with any other person. Do you know what I mean? I've gone outside and I've talked to people, and there are people, I'll tell you right now, there are people that scare me. There are people that scare me. There are people that walk around on trash day in New York and yawn. That's insane. It does. I don't know if it gets crazier. Terrifying. And I'm talking like hot summer trash day. Not today, Satan. No, I see that, and I'm not gonna lie, I cross the street. I treat them like they got a pit bull. I treat them like, well, yeah. Like I don't know. And sometimes you want to throw your hands up and just say, none of it's worth it or anything. And I don't know. I just don't believe that. There are some things that happening and your response, what you put out into the world, it is coming back. It may not feel that way. And maybe you're a kid and you're impulsive and somebody makes you angry online, so you get real nasty with everybody all day, and you don't even think about like the ripple effect that thing has. But like, people take online, obviously is not real, but people take real things off of it, And I've talked about this before. I'm never stop talking about it, because I genuinely believe it from the bottom of my heart that the bravest thing you ever do. I remember I read this and it stuck with me, and I hope it sticks with me for the entirety of my life, because this is how people make money. This is how people control you. This is how people mess with your mind. This is how people turn you against other people. The bravest thing that you will ever do in your entire life is accept that there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing intrinsically wrong with you. There's nothing that is like that needs to be bought to fix you. There's nothing that you need to, and that is not to say that everyone is a perfect person. I'm not saying people don't need to work on themselves. I'm saying that like you are not beyond the measure of like the love and care that a person should receive, right? And then the second scariest thing you'll ever do in your life, and like some people can't do it. Some people live and die. They get buried without ever doing it. The other scariest thing you'll ever do in your entire life, I promise you, is change your mind. And like, I personally don't think we're in a place where we're too far gone. These two things can still happen. It takes a second for them to happen. It takes a moment for either one of them to happen. That there is nothing wrong with you. Now, you're not perfect. You make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing unfixable, unlovable about you. And then there's a world that looks different than the world in your phone, or even the world from your experiences. But I promise you, changing your mind will not kill you. But this isn't the world. It's not even your world. It's just what you're being served to keep you on the platform. But I think somewhere along the line, we start to feel like it's a window instead of a TV. Do you know what I mean? It's not a window. There's no way to know what everybody thinks. And there is no like side to reality. So when you're watching something, and when you're watching people react to something, you're seeing a piece of it, but you have to remember what you're being served. Like that's what's happening. Different amounts, compassion, contempt, depends on how you look, depends on where you go. It's worth seeing the full picture for yourself. I think to fail to do that is to start to fail to be as human as you can be. This thing that we have is this incredible tool, but like tools are also weapons. A tool can protect you, and you can use it to hurt other people. Like if you thought a mountain lion was like walking around all the time and you just had a bat with you just in case, it's like not. But these things are tools, and it's very important to remember who's using the tool. We think it's us all the time, and I think that is a mistake. To think that we use it. that it doesn't work the other way around ever. Yeah. I love you all, and I appreciate every single one of you. I don't want to see I don't want to see people destroy themselves because they thought that they had a mirror, they thought that they had a window, and they just had a TV. You know? So I appreciate every single one of y'all. I can't even describe it. I was so excited to come here and spend time with you, and that is definitely in spite of the mountain lion. So, Rochester, y'all been amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all so much. It's funny how sometimes people like enter your life without you ever meeting them. Like you don't get to know them, but you hear stories about this person through the people that you know or a friend of a friend, but then they just keep coming up and you feel like they're in your life, even though you've never met them. Wouldn't know them on the street if you saw them, right? There was a guy like that for me named Marty. I never met Marty. Wouldn't have been able to track him down if you gave me a 23andMe and a genealogy test or something like that. I knew Marty through stories because Marty had an interesting life. This dude spent a bunch of time in France. He was American born, lived in France for a long time, learned French super fluently, and apparently he told one of his friends, this is how I heard the story, that he dreamed in French. Like he spoke English, obviously, and he lived in the States again, but his dreams would just be full of people speaking French at different points and stuff. And it came up because here in the US, he met someone and they fell in love, but she was French. So went all the way to France, didn't meet anybody. Came back here, met a French woman, right? And there was a day where Marty, he basically, in a nutshell, forgot his girlfriend's birthday. It was their first year together, so we're still like been dating some months, but hanging out all the time and everything. I said my birthday. You're supposed to remember. That's part of the relationship quiz. And it kept seeming like maybe there was a surprise waiting or he was pretending to have forgotten or something. And then he went and took a nap. Yeah, not only did you forget my birthday, you napping in my face. And then I guess when she realized that he genuinely did forget, she woke him up. And she woke him up mad. And when she was mad, she'd go straight to French, right? Because she'd be so mad she wasn't putting it in English for him. And so he woke up to his girlfriend yelling at him in French. So he thought he was still dreaming. So wakes him up. Can't believe you forget my birthday. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? You over here playing in my face all day? All in French. I'm paraphrasing. And then he was squinting, real tired, and was looking up at her and just wonders, I guess, to himself, am I having a dream right now? And so he casually, while she's yelling at him, puts his finger in her mouth. I don't know if you ever had somebody forget your birthday before, but you definitely have not had them put their finger in your mouth as you were letting them have it. And there were felt like dozen funny stories like that about Marty. Marty was an interesting dude, and he just moved in different circles than me. Never met Marty or anything. But Marty got older, got married, had some kids and stuff. And then Marty got sick, and Marty had cancer. And there were some treatments that they could try, but it wasn't looking good and his insurance wasn't gonna cover it and he couldn't do it out of pocket and Marty passed away. And it's crazy because one of the other things about Marty that people talked about was how he was like a good boss. It's sometimes hard to be a good boss because people don't like being bossed around. You know, like people don't enjoy someone telling them what to do, but somebody got to tell you what to do if we all work here. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't just show up to work and be like, you figure out whatever you feel like. Nothing would get done. Like there do need to be bosses sometimes in certain situations. It's just how you are a boss, you know? Like there are certain managers that I've had in my life that honestly, I had the easy job and they still made it hell because they were hell to be around, you know? There's nothing like having an easy job that you know is an easy job. I could do this in my sleep, but I gotta do it next to a jerk. That's the worst, you know? You know those people, got time to lean, got time to clean. And this is another thing I have to accept about bosses, I have to accept about managers. There are some jobs where genuinely, it's in the handbook. It's like part of the job. The job makes you kind of come off like, or maybe turn into a bastard. Do you know what I mean? Because there are policy handbooks of companies where if you got time to lean, you got time to clean is in the book. They just quoting. So there are some jobs where you got to be a monster to do them. And there's some jobs that make you a monster, you know? I was thinking about that when the shooting in New York happened. I know. Because for me, in case you didn't know, in case you somehow have not been on Earth, there was a shooting in New York. Basically, this dude walked up behind CEO of United Healthcare and he shot him several times and then he went off, right? But apparently he had been camped out there waiting. That dude walks past him. He goes pop, 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 pop. And then he jumps on apparently a city bike, which is not advisable. And then he heads over to Central Park and disappeared into the night/day, because it was day. It was broad daylight, too. That's also what felt so insane about it happening. It happened during the day. You got to understand, there's New York day things and New York night things. We usually keep the shootings after dark. And when it happened, it shook everything up. Everyone was obsessed. The news was obsessed. The news was obsessed when it happened. The news was like, finally, we have something to talk about that's not Trump. Oh, wow. What a day. So the news talked about it all day. The news talked about it nonstop. The news would even have people on to discuss it who clearly were just finding stuff out in the moment with us on the news. They would bring the expert on and then play the clip. And then the expert would watch the clip and be like, damn, it's like you were supposed to know, sir. That's why you're on the news. The news was absolutely obsessed, right? The news even did a thing that I've never seen before that I very much resented, because I'm just gonna be honest with you. This entire time, I'm just gonna be telling you how I feel. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. I'm not gonna judge how anyone feels. I'm just talking about myself, right? When I saw it happen, when I saw that video footage that they played, when I saw that dude walk up and pull out a gun and point it at that CEO, I thought to myself, thank God those are white hands. Oh. When I saw those lily white hands, when I saw those pearly white hands, I thought to myself, what a white sight. What a beautiful white thing to happen that does not have anything to do with me, that should not blow back on me at all. What a white moment in America. And then in their obsession, continually, over and over again, describing what happened, going over what happened, the news did something. CBS this morning showed the clip. They showed this man walk up, pull out the gun, and they said on CBS in the morning, a light-skinned man. No. No, no, no. No, no. Light skin. When has the news ever said light skin? What's next, CBS? Redbone? Light skin. I was horrified. No, you know, if it had been a black person, they would say black, because they love saying black. Anytime a black person does something, the news is like, this black was last seen at the scene of the crime. You know this black. If you've seen this particular black, call this number so you can report him for his blackety-black crime. Guys, light skin. The news was obsessed with it, top to bottom. You could not watch anything else. I'm sure stuff was happening everywhere in the world, but you wouldn't know it. Just kept circling this one block in Manhattan, and people were obsessed with it. Us, were obsessed with it. It's all I heard people talking about. People who I know don't watch the news, people who I know don't really care about current events. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on social, online. Everyone was talking about it. People were so obsessed that the backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out. Because in America, everything is an ad, including murder. People were so obsessed. You know, like those Timothy Chalamet lookalike contests they've been having in New York? A bunch of white people got together because they knew he was white. A bunch of white people got together in the park and all dressed like the shooter and had a shooter lookalike contest. And it's been done in comedy before. I understand. It's a joke that's well worn. White people be like this. Black people be like this. But can I just say, as a black person, we have never, as black people, watched the news, seen the suspect, and then went outside specifically dressed as the suspect. We've never watched the morning, the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the midnight news and been like, oh, that's a good fit right there. Let me make sure I got it right. A red bandana. Okay, I need a red one. That's just how you can tell being white is a different experience, because these white people racially profiled themselves for fun. That's just having a time. So the news was obsessed, and people were obsessed, and CEOs were obsessed. CEOs were like, what? What happened? Oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't know each other? Kids, he just did that in broad daylight to one of us? CEOs started making moves, man. CEOs of all the healthcare companies started taking down all of their profiles. All of their LinkedIns were just back to factory settings. And look, I need to be clear about something. I mean, you're gonna glean this off of me the entire time. I don't want anybody to die, right? I don't celebrate death in any way, right? But I will say, if you feel in the wake of this thing happening, like you have to scrub all mention of you, all knowledge of your existence off of the internet, then maybe, just maybe, take a look at how you do business, take a look at the person. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen this thing before in a different way. Okay, so I had a buddy who, I went to his apartment for the first time, and this dude, I understand taking precautions, because that's what they will say they were doing. They were like, we don't know the motive, we don't know why this person would do this thing, we don't know who they are, we don't know if they're gonna come for one of us, so we try to protect ourselves, you know, we just take everything off. And that's what this guy was doing. I went to his house for the first time, went to his place, and he had 6 locks on his door. At 6 locks, something needs to change. At 6 locks, you either need to move or change your ways, all right? Because this dude had 6 locks. He was dealing a little bit of drugs and stuff, but I was like, 6 is, come on. What are you doing? It takes you a minute and a half to open the door. I can hear it. You hear chains, you hear all that stuff. You know? I was like, isn't this worse for you? You really worried somebody coming to get you? You got 6 locks. You sure you won't get killed trying to get in? But that happened, and the news was having trouble thinking of a motive. The news, they were like, why? Why would anyone? Why? Who could it be? You know, police were having trouble coming up with a motive when they went on the news. They were like, we have no idea why this individual would do something like this. CEOs could not think of a motive. They were like, but we're us. I thought everybody loved us. Everybody wants to be us. Why would somebody come after us, right? You see it on the news. And this is also, I'm not gonna lie, this is how you can tell the news is owned by billionaires. Because the news was like this devastating, terrifying, harrowing attack in New York. And I'm not saying, look, a murder did take place. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been those listed as those things. I'm just saying you're the news. Like, you are the mainstream media. You play horrific stuff all the time. You're the same news that when those pages were going off on those people in the Middle East exploding, you were like, check this out. Isn't that wild? The moment 1,000 pages went off and killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That same news is like, we still don't know. who or why or what or how. Police couldn't think of a motive. CEOs couldn't think of a motive. CEOs of other healthcare companies couldn't seem to think of a motive. This thing happened the same week as one of the main insurance providers was saying out loud with their full chest, "We gonna stop doing anesthesia if you take too long. You better." Which, by the way, is not up to the patient. That's also one of the most insane things about that new policy they were going to try out. I've never had to administer anesthesia to myself. That's just heroin. Yeah, if your surgery takes too long, it's not like they're there, by the way. It's not like they have to wait on you in the waiting room or something. If your surgery takes too long, we're going to charge extra to put you back under. If your surgery takes too long, we might not cover more anesthesia. What? In what world did we think you could pay for health insurance and then you wake up during, who knows, whatever serious surgery you're having, and then your doctor has to be like, "Hey, do you have like $650? Because if not, I know you're a little groggy, but can you understand me right now? I know you're literally open, but can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't have it, that's okay. I got a stick. We can Civil War this right now." The stick is $20 though, so couldn't think of a motive, And the CEOs as well. When you look at this guy, you look at this dude. I don't think anyone was ready. I don't think the news was ready. I don't think the police were ready. I don't think the rich were ready for how on the shooter's side the public was. Do you know what I mean? How absolutely, unequivocally on his side. Immediate. I didn't know it had happened and there were already jokes. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. The people, I'm not going to say as a whole because I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for the most part, were on the shooter's side. They don't know the motive. They don't know why he did this thing, but they were glad that it happened. And so out of it, you get these CEOs, you get these rich people going on the news and really campaigning, being like, "Look, the CEO, this man was a father. This man was a husband. This man," and they really appealed to the humanity of this CEO. And there were people who heard that appeal, and they said, "Yeah, no, I know he was a person. So was my cousin. So was my brother. So was my sister. So was my friend." You know what I mean? This man had children. He leaves children behind. This is a senseless death. It did not have to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, I know about I know about avoidable deaths. I'm a customer. I know people who have died these avoidable deaths because it took too long to get their medicine, took too long to get the treatment. Maybe it wasn't covered. Maybe they're on the phone forever. This man was a father. He was a husband. Okay, so was Marty. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that people are wrestling with, the thing that we're all trying to contend with in how we feel about this thing, because people want to feel like good people. We know that murder is wrong. We know that death is a tragedy, right? Because to me, personally, when I look at any death, when I look at any killing in that way, I personally look at it as a loss and a tragedy, because as long as someone is alive, there's potential. There's potential to turn things around. There's potential to change. And then if you lose that potential, then your story gets cut short and maybe things would have turned around. I'm not saying that they would have, but the thing that we're all wrestling with is that a murder
did happen. Someone killed someone in cold blood. They just didn't kill an innocent man. Do you know what I mean? That's also what feels so conflicting about it. Like, a killer killed a killer. This dude was the CEO. A lot of people died under his watch, through his policy, through what United Health does. You know? There are a lot of people that are gone, and when you can see an act happen in real time, it's very easy to look at it, be shocked by it, and call it murder. When you can spread all of the culpability, when you can spread all of the actions across thousands of individuals and a whole system, now somehow it's nobody's fault. You know? And like, you look at someone like Brian Thompson, that CEO, that dude was, to himself probably, I'm assuming, just good at his job. It's his job to make the company money. I don't know what CEO, outside of maybe like a gun manufacturer, wakes up and wants people to die. Like, I don't know. I don't know what CEO wakes up. These CEOs, they work 80-hour weeks and they don't see their families and everything, but they do it because of their obsession to succeed and to build up the company, to make the company successful, to give back to the shareholders, all the reasons they come up with. And if some people die along the way, then that sort of is what it is, right? But this dude, make no mistake, he was a killer. He was such a good killer that the company was like, damn, Brian. Damn, you cold-blooded. We need to make you CEO. Wow, you don't care. You don't care at all. Women, kids, you get them all. Wow, Brian. He got promoted the way a gang member becomes a leader, you know? You're the coldest one out here. You know? It's tough. It's really tough. It's hard. It's also hard because when you talk about it, or whenever you're feeling what you're feeling, you don't want to. We're all human, but you don't want to lose your humanity. You know, like you don't want to get so spiteful that you lose some of yourself. You know, and so this dude, they're looking for him, and it's hard because the people are on his side. There's literally people dressing up as him, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like some of the cops were even on his side, because the cops were on a manhunt for him in Central Park and they weren't looking hard. Dude, they weren't. Like, did you, if you saw the news and you saw them in Central Park, I've never seen a more lackadaisical hunt in my life. There were cops in Central Park. This is being shot. They see the camera and they know what's going on the news, and they were still like, he ain't in this bush. Where else is there to look? No. Oh. It's hard, you know. It's also difficult because you want to have empathy for everybody if possible. You want to see every angle if possible. But this one is tough in a way because of what Brian was. Just a representative, by the way. That dude just is one of the dudes. Nothing changed. He's one of the dudes. And he can be one of the dudes because the system's already there. So it's not as if doing anything to him does anything to the whole, right? I mean, I will say, I do think they rolled back that anesthesia thing. That did happen. Maybe they'll go through with it later, but for the time being, it seemed like they were like, ooh, okay. You know? But he's allowed to be where he is, how he is, because of the system at play. A system, by the way, who didn't care about Brian either. Let's be honest about that. You know, because that man was headed to a meeting when he was murdered. and investors still had the meeting. That's how it works. They were getting notifications on their phone that Brian was outside, and they were like, ugh, so the minutes. How's next quarter looking? I mean, that's why it's not worth it. You know? When you put like that much profit over the person, you are also lost in that thing, right? And I think that's a harrowing thing. I think for CEOs, that was like a terrifying moment, because it was the first time that they saw that we see them the way they see us. Do you know what I mean? That's gotta be scary. Because for them, make no mistake, for them, we're not clients, we're not consumers, we're not customers, we're not even users. None of the names that they put in their reports, none of the things that they say to their shareholders, we're numbers, we're an account number, we're this thing. Which is why when we go away, when we disappear, when we die, it doesn't really mean anything to them, because they never really saw us. And then the response to this shooter, this like overwhelming positive response on social. I'm not saying it was everybody, but a lot of people, it was kind of this wake-up call that we don't see them as people either, which is, that's scary. That's a scary place to be in, you know? Because when you would see it on the news and the news described it, let's not mince words. It was a murder. The man was murdered. You know what I mean? And the news would describe it as if it was the singular event in history, this horrific crime that took place in the streets of New York in broad daylight, this harrowing attack. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that the woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill. It was one of the most New York things I've ever seen. For someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me. And so then they catch the shooter, right? And when they caught the shooter, I was at a coffee shop, and everyone got a notification on their phone. We weren't all talking to each other, just different. You could see everybody was either already on their phone or pulling their phone, but I heard beeps, I heard all the little notification noises. And then in this coffee shop, I'm not even kidding, there was a collective, "Aw." Oh, that's the noise you make if the baby hippo Mudang dies. That was wild. Oh, yeah, they caught him in a McDonald's. And there was footage of him on the news later in that McDonald's eating a hash brown. And when I saw that, I was like, wait, he's eating a hash brown at McDonald's. He's eating McDonald's hash brown. So it had to be before 10:30. He's eating a McDonald's hash brown, which means somebody woke up early to snitch. Damn, barely awake at 9 o'clock. I don't know. Blinking. Oh, that must be him. Let me make the call. You know? And what's even crazier about that is apparently, at least as of the time I am talking to you, it looks like that McDonald's worker that called him is not going to get the reward money. Which Wow. Is not going to get the reward money. And people were looking it up. The person was like, why wouldn't I get the reward money? Everything. Apparently, what they were told and what the internet says is like, actually, the process of collecting reward money for turning someone in is very complicated because there's an amount that has to be approved by two different bodies, and one body approved the $10,000, but when it got up to like 50, 60, it wasn't approved by both bodies. So then when they turned them in, they may not get anything at all, actually, because there's so much confusion around how much to give them or if it's the full amount. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of wild to me, because there was no confusion when they called and they were like, nigga here. So y'all coming, or? That was very straightforward. There weren't any other things you needed to check before you came and picked them up, you know? That's why they in my opinion, they did it wrong. You know, if you're gonna call and you're gonna tell people that he's here, don't call the police right away. Get your money up. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I think I might have eyes on your boy. And we don't know what he gonna do next, so what are you thinking, 50, 60? I'm just wondering how much he's worth to you, you know what I mean? Because I could make some other calls if you want. I can call a couple different people. There are about 6 providers. Y'all got a real monopoly going on, so. Okay, because he might be here, he might not. Hurry up. It looked like he leaving. I always thought it was very straightforward. You know, there's a reward out for a fugitive, and then you turn in the fugitive and you get the reward. That's how it happens in all the Westerns. You know what I mean? But then they're like, oh, no, actually, I'm the FBI and the local police have to decide on an amount, and then there's like an arbitration process and everything. It's just so funny that like this whole thing happened, and then them trying to get their money just sounds like an insurance claim. You know? So then they come and they catch the dude, and he has everything with him. He's got his backpack with him, gun in his backpack, 4 fake IDs and everything. And it's kind of wild because so many people, when the attack first happened, thought this dude must be an assassin. How do you get out of New York? This man was in Manhattan. He did a shooting, and now no one knows where to find him. In New York, a police state with surveillance everywhere. The man was on an island. And he got off, and they couldn't find him. He must be a genius. And then you find him at 10:02 in McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, with hash brown crumbs all over his face. And then people went from calling him a genius, like, oh, he's so dumb. He's the dumbest man that's ever lived. Look, I think all this proves is one thing. When you read history and you look back, some of these people, because there have been individuals out there saying, you say he's a killer, I say he's a freedom fighter. There are some people that think he's a revolutionary and everything. Let's just say this. This is proof that even when you read a history book, revolutionaries were just sort of figuring it out as they went. You know what I mean? I'm sure Che Guevara had his days where he was like, y'all, I don't know. Whatever y'all want to do, I guess. They see the fake IDs, they question them, they bring them in and everything. And his name is Luigi Mangione or Mangiani. or Man Joan. There's so many different ways I've heard his name pronounced that I'm not positive the name he going by wasn't just one of those fake IDs. Like, that's the most cartoonish name I've heard in years. Luigi Mangione. It sounds like you making fun of an Italian person. Luigi already wild. He don't even go by Luigi. And they put his picture all over the news and everything, and it turns out that he is very good looking. Like, just upsettingly good looking, almost objectively in a way. Like, crazy. Everything in its right place and everything's good. Strong eyebrows with a big smile and everything, and just all the pictures. Because you know when the news catch you, when the police catch you, they try to put up some, depending on who you are. This usually happens to black people, but it happens to white people once in a while too, where they try to find the craziest picture they can of you. And I think they tried, but it was tough work because he is a good-looking individual. Every picture looked good. He would just be with model rockets, looking like a model. Like, it was crazy. They take his mug shot, and the mug shot looked like a cologne ad. Like, that was upsetting to me as a fellow man. I was like, y'all gotta get one bad pic, please. One bad picture. He was doing everything in that mug shot but biting his lip. Like, you've seen the mug shot. My man was... Mugshot's supposed to be simple. Mugshot's supposed to be your face and your profile. Your face and your profile. Your height. It's supposed to be very quick and easy, you know? This man was so good looking, they took extra mugshots. There's some that are like a little lower than him where he looking down, like... There's some up high where he just like, you can tell, even the mugshot photographer was like, now do it like you're a bad boy. They tried so hard to get a bad picture of him that they took stills from video. They tried to take stills from video because that usually gets people. You take a still from a video and somebody was blinking weird. Okay, normally people blink with both eyes at the same time. Every once in a while, like let's say you mid-yawn or something, or you're chewing, one eye might close before the other eye. And if you catch me in this moment, I look a little off, something going on with me. And now if you tell people I killed a bunch of people, you're like, I can see it. I can see it on... That's what the other eye is hiding, is secrets. That's why it's closed like that. Okay. They tried... This man was being led to the jailhouse through what looked like a tunnel, and he getting pushed by police through a tunnel, and he's screaming. And they took stills from that, and those still looked good. Who looks good screaming? This man's getting pushed through the tunnel, yelling back at the media, going, like just... I'll show you right now. What about that was sexy? And people already thirst trapping. If we thought Ted Bundy got letters. It was insane. It was very aggravating. And then every picture looked good to the point where editors and media consultants and stuff like that were like, stop putting pictures out of him. That's how good he looked. They were like, stop. You botched it. Don't put out another picture. And you could tell that the newspapers were getting aggravated because these newspapers and these media companies are owned by billionaires who are terrified right now of what's happening. And they see the public lauding this dude as a hero, and they're trying to get at least something. The cops literally had to tase this dude, so he pissed himself, so he took one bad photo. But even in that one, you're like, oh. I just know that there was somebody at a newspaper flipping out going, y'all can't do your job? Y'all can't take one bad photo of this man? Everything got to be in focus? You can't even make it blurry? But I'm not gonna lie, when they caught that dude, I felt, everything started to come back up top, like surface level again, where I felt bad for a lot of different people, you know? I did feel bad for Brian Thompson's kids, because you don't pick who your daddy is, you know? And to a certain degree, I even felt bad for the shooter, because I'm like, you're 26 and you have money. Something happened. Something happened. You're smart. You have your whole life ahead of you with all of this opportunity. You disappeared for some time, and now you do something happened, you know? But I felt especially bad, like really, really bad for women. Because finally there was a good-looking, rich, well-read man who has nothing to do with Hollywood, but he does murder some. So, you know what I mean? I could just see somebody trying to defend him. Just women defend their men too hard sometimes. Just like, he just did one. It was just one murder, okay? He can't even murder a little, like. You judging me because my man your man cheat, all right? How about that? Felt bad for a lot of people when it happened, when it became like surface level real again. It wasn't just this like spy crime mystery thing. It was like back down to earth with real people. I also feel very bad for anybody else who got shot that day. It's New York. A lot of people get shot in New York every day. Imagine you get shot in New York. Ow, they got me, right? And you holding it. And let's say you're an artist. So you actually do your own police sketch of your shooter. And then you hobble your way over to the police station and you put it from like, look, that's exactly what he looked like. I had a lot of time to draw it. Can you go looking? And then the police look at you and be like, sorry, this other thing's sort of an all hands on deck. You know? But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, you know, there was even a lot of talk about which CEOs in this whole thing were safe. Do you know what I mean? Because like healthcare CEOs were on high alert, but I'm not gonna lie, you know, Luigi, he went to Starbucks and then he did that murder and then he hopped on a city bike and he left New York and everything. If you the CEO of Starbucks, you gotta be like, oh, thank goodness. You know, Starbucks does stuff too. Starbucks, they love that labor. They love that. They love that cheap labor. So for you to go to Starbucks before you take out a CEO, I'm not gonna lie, you might as well shot that man with an iPhone. Like, what are you doing? And then he gets found at a McDonald's. I'm sure the CEO of McDonald's is like, oh, thank God, okay. I was always good, yes. You know, the CEOs were freaking out, you know, across the board. Who would have thought? Who would have thought CEOs were family? Do you know what I mean? Like, and let's be clear about something. Don't mistake the different CEOs that commented on this, the ones that stayed scared, the ones that appealed to a different way of doing things while they keep doing everything the same way. Don't mistake their self-preservation for empathy. Right? Because those CEOs, they know, you know? And it's not even as if people hated people because they were rich. They hated a system that destroyed people's lives, you know? Because Luigi is rich. Luigi is so rich. When I found out how rich he was, that's so rich. The dude's family owns 2 country clubs. Look. Why do you think I came? This dude's family owns 2 country clubs. This is just me outside looking in. I didn't even know you could own a country club. I thought it was owned by the country. I had no idea, because usually people don't put their name on the country club they own. It's not like it's Rick's Country Club. Like, that's crazy that Luigi's family had more money than the CEO, but then the CEO comes from like humble beginnings and has more money than Luigi does personally. And so it became this whole thing where some people started turning on Luigi and then rooting for the CEO. It was odd because people got too wrapped up in the money. But for me, it's not the money specifically. It wasn't about who's rich and who has more money than who. It was about a system that destroys people's lives, you know? It was about the fact that some jobs make you a monster and there are some jobs you have to be a monster to do. You know what I mean? And so for me, I don't even care that Luigi is rich, because the people, right? The people that love that it happened, the people that didn't care that it happened, the people that just wanted some taste of revenge for how healthcare and health insurance has destroyed their life. We use healthcare and health insurance interchangeably, but I think you know what I mean, how these insurance companies take the good work of doctors, the good work of nurses, and they make it so it's inaccessible, you know? And I think that the CEOs were scared, but let's be honest, not all CEOs were scared. I'm pretty sure the CEO of Ben and Jerry slept pretty good this entire time. Yeah, like, nobody was calling for all the CEOs. Nobody wanted to get Ben or Jerry. We were both very happy with those individuals. And you also have a year where whistleblowers who try to stand up to power and a system, not just like one person, right? Because that's why I think a lot of CEOs don't understand, and why a lot of news media didn't understand about how the people feel, is that there were people who tried to do things the right way. They whistle blew, hey, this company is doing this thing. It's either putting your life in danger or it's stealing from you. And then all of a sudden, 2024 seemed to be the year of whistleblowers turning up dead. You know what I mean? Look at the Boeing whistleblower. That dude turns up dead when he's supposed to testify in the thing he already risked his life to do, and you're telling me he just mysteriously died in the parking lot of his hotel room that nobody knew he was staying at? Come on now. Come on. And then my man is blowing the whistle on a bunch of stuff we already know. He's like, the door gonna fly off. We heard. And then another whistleblower dies, and another whistleblower dies. And then just today, the whistleblower that blew the whistle on OpenAI was found dead in his apartment. And so, yeah, I think that people, as in individuals just generally in the world, are scared. They're scared of what happens when you stand up to power. They're scared of what happens when you try to do what seems like the right thing, you know? And these powerful people step in and we don't know, but it looks pretty obvious what happens. And I think for me, at least to me, people, all of us, are like mirrors of each other. And right now, the mirror's like shattered a little bit. If you put up two mirrors next to each other, you make an infinite image, right? In both directions. But if you crack just one of the mirrors, you've cracked the whole infinite image, you know? And so the way that they see us, not as people, not as people who they should take care of because we are their customers, we are their consumers. We gave them money in good faith for insurance, for our health, and then you deny when I need something. I've been paying all this money. If I had just saved the money and put it aside, I might have enough myself. And now you're standing in the way of me and my health, and you don't think that there's going to be any blowback with that? You don't think anything is going to happen next? That's wild. We're in a time where you see like Josh Shapiro come up and be like, this guy was not a hero. Let me be clear. Sure, fair enough. I'm with you. All right. But you have to pass legislation. You have to get it through. And don't let a lobbyist sway you. And don't let a lobbyist sway your colleagues. You have to do something then. Because I cannot stress enough how scary it is, how much of an inevitability we're heading to. You know what I mean? If you look at history alone, all by itself, is a playbook for some people, is a cautionary tale for other people. I think a lot of the answer to what we're facing is in history. It's in Versailles. And when you read the history of Versailles, you read the history of French Revolution. It's very apparent that, you know, whether it's police, whether it's an army, guards, whatever it is, they protect the powerful, not the people. You know, and the only reason that the people won in the French Revolution, in my opinion, is because the army's guns took like a Seinfeld episode to reload. Like, say, yeah, you can probably get them up out of there real quick. Like you go to, I went to Versailles. I went there and it is beautiful. It's a testament. It's a monument to like what people can accomplish, but it's all one man's wealth. You know, it's all for the king. But the gardens are beautiful. Inside is beautiful. The mirrors, everything. It's decadent. It's when I walked in, I was like, wow, I get how this can happen. I get how you could have everything in the world and you want to make something like this and it's still not enough. You want to add to it. You want to build more, build better. You see the king's bedroom. You see where Marie Antoinette, her, it's like you see so much. And then you walk through the thing and you also are like, oh yeah, I can also see how if you were hungry enough and you broke in here and you saw what they did, you would probably grab everybody. It doesn't make it right, but France was headed towards an inevitability. You know what I mean? And if you get on TV and you say, this is wrong, this is absolutely wrong, okay, I agree with you. But what are you going to do now? What's the plan? Like, politicians cannot afford to do nothing. CEOs cannot afford to do nothing. And the people cannot afford to do nothing. And if the last part scares you, you might be on the wrong side of history, you know? But that's a tough thing, too, because now there's a lot of people saying, like, all right, you got them, but good luck finding a jury. Good luck finding a jury that wasn't hurt by Brian Thompson. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because now, to me, all Luigi has to do is show up in court and be like, y'all, I tried to call and tell him I was crazy, but they kept me on hold for so long. They kept me on hold for so long, I figured maybe I'll just go talk to him personally.
When I was growing up, I had a friend who was like a latchkey kid, and he would get off the bus, and he had 2 hours to himself before his parents came home. So he'd get off the bus, he'd open the door in the house, he had full reign of the house. And we're still little, but he's like old enough to, go ahead and make himself a grilled cheese if he wants something, anything, just till his parents get home. And one day he comes home, and his parents had a get together the night before, and he sees laid out just a little bit left of some wine. And he's like, oh, wow, I know that this is grown-up juice, but I want to try it because I'm not supposed to have it, because I know I'm not supposed to have it, right? And so picks it up, and he's weighing the options in his head. He's like, I could try it, but what if I get caught? I'd be in so much trouble. Oh, but I really want it. Maybe nobody will know. And he's going over and over it in his head to the point where he decides, I'm going to just have a little sip. And he's bringing it to his lips, and then he ends up slipping it out of his hand, drops it, stains the carpet, right? So now he's freaking out because it's like, oh no, they'll know there wasn't a stain there when they left. This is all on me. And he did what a lot of kids would do in that scenario. He made it worse. He was like, the only thing, and I can understand he's a kid, but this is a mistake that I don't think I would have made. The best thing for him to do in that moment, he thought, was to make a bigger mess. And then that way, the stain won't be so bad. So he grabbed a rock and he threw it through the window. Which was a huge mistake because he went outside to get the rock and then threw it from inside outside. He realized what he had done as soon as he did it, so then he had to go back outside, grab the rock, carefully pick up all the glass, bring it back inside, lay out the glass next to the rock, next to the stain. And then his parents get home, and when they come home, immediately they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? What happened? And he's had an hour 20 to think up a story, So he's over here like, it was crazy. They're like, what happened? You got the rock going through the windows, all this glass on the floor and this stain. He's like, well, the stain's probably not as big of a deal as the broken window when you really think about it, right? And they're like, what happened? And he says, well, the rock came through the window and it must have hit the glass that had the wine in it, the wine that really shouldn't have been left out. That's an adult beverage. I'm a minor. And then it must have hit the perfect angle to hit that glass and this glass and then knock over and then make a stain on our beautiful 3-bedroom carpet. And his parents were like, but did you see it happen? Like, how did this happen? Did somebody throw this? And he's like, uh-oh, because he didn't think that far. And so he was like, yeah, the man threw it. And they were like, what man? And now he's in deep because he's like, yeah, what man? What am I doing? And so he's like, yeah, there was a man that, threw the rock through the window and everything. And you saw him? Yeah, I saw him. He threw it and he ran and everything. And he thought maybe that would be the end of it. But from his parents' perspective, there was someone who threw a rock into the window, maybe to get inside while their son was home. So they had more and more questions, and he didn't know what to do. He was freaking out, Next thing he knows, the police have been called, and the police come over, and they're like, what did the man look like? And they over here taking notes and stuff, and he's like, he doesn't know what to say next because he didn't think this far. And that's how I feel like Trump must feel about Epstein, because it goes so deep. It's like he didn't think this far in the lies. Like he just didn't account for it. He thought he could make it quiet, It's not going to be pitched as a direct and absolutely direct order from Trump, what the DOJ did. But the DOJ came out after
interviews and interviews saying, oh, there's so much information. We're just trying to figure out how to put it out there in a way that's clear. Oh, there's so many files. There's a list of names. There's logs. There's a client list. After saying all this stuff in the media, the DOJ comes out and says, actually, the investigation is closed. We're not going to be prosecuting anybody else. And I think we got to the bottom of it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's not going to stand at all. That's not going to stand with anybody, because you got to remember who Trump garnered with this belief that he released the Epstein files. He's got MAGA, sure, but he also has Q. Nobody talks about Q anymore, but they're still around. And they believe deeply that Donald Trump is going to be the one to unleash all of the truth. All the evidence will come out. When Trump is president, he'll turn over everything on the powerful cabal that has been victimizing people across the world. And then he's like, hey, yeah, there's no. And I think he thought that he could really bury it, that he could truly bury it. But he's wrong. He's wrong because there are a lot of things that he didn't account for. There are people that Trump controls. There are people who he orders around, and there are people who blindly follow him, sure. But he didn't count on things like Jeffrey Epstein talking before he died to a biographer for like 100 hours, like just a ridiculous amount of time. I have friends I don't think I've spoken to for 100 hours. 100 hours, you probably say a lot of nothing, and you probably say some pretty interesting stuff. Those 100 hours of conversation is how we know that Trump and Epstein were tight for years. Well, even Epstein said he knows some of the inner workings of the White House because him and Trump would just chop it up. I mean, that's heavy. That's a lot to try to sidestep. And Trump's been making mistakes this whole time. Even when Epstein died, right? Epstein dies. He was in jail and he passed. Who can say how? And, Ghislaine Maxwell gets, charged, has a whole trial, gets convicted, sentenced to 20 years in prison. And apparently what we're hearing now is that at the time, Trump floated pardoning her. And the people that heard that almost couldn't believe it. Why would he pardon her? That's crazy. And it's like, actually, it's not that crazy when you see the picture of all them hanging out, like, in the 90s, and they met in the 80s, and they used to fly around together. Like, that's his buddy. And he even said himself, these are his words out of his mouth, when asked about Ghislaine Maxwell during the trial, he said, I wish her well. Somebody that's on trial for trafficking. Somebody with ties to you. I wish her well. And then people were like, why would you wish her well? And then they brought it up again, and Trump was like, I wish lots of people well. And we were like, no, you don't. I've been watching you the whole time. I don't think you wish anybody well that I've seen. All you come up with is nicknames. Man floated pardoning her. That's crazy. And then the DOJ comes out, hey, yeah, this is done. Nothing else to see here. And people were having a hard time wrapping their heads around that. People who usually stump for Trump hard. No matter what he says, they manage to twist it in a way that maybe it could make sense to you, and they'll say that that's what he means. One of the reasons that Trump can do everything that he does and it comes off a different way to everybody is because so many people think that they're the Trump whisperer. Trump will say something out of nowhere, and then there'll be people like, well, what he actually meant was something more reasonable that I'm going to say right now. And I'll be like, that's interesting, because he didn't say any of those words in that order when he was speaking. And I think he had a teleprompter, so I don't see how that's possible. No. And so everybody thinks that they can be the Trump whisperer, and it's just not working this time. You see people trying to come up with why Trump, why the FBI, why the Attorney General would all of a sudden, what feels like out of nowhere, try to shut this whole thing down, right? Alex Jones, of all people, saw what the DOJ did, and he made a video crying. I think it's very important. When, when a man shows emotion, not to just ridicule him for it because it's easy. But Alex Jones cries weird. Alex Jones cry weirder than anybody I've ever seen in my life. I don't wish anything good for Alex Jones, but to see him cry felt like something happened to me too. Like Alex Jones is up here like, folks. Like his eyelids were doing sit-ups, crying. I'm sick to my stomach, and I just can't believe this thing is happening. Wipe your face, dog. Like, and even Alex Jones trying to come up with something. He's like maybe the deep state got to him, and the deep state is like in his body, and that's why he's doing this stuff right now. And then he'll be back to normal after he has one of my protein shakes. You can go to my website and buy frog protein for $19.99. No, it was crazy. Because Alex Jones, you gotta remember, this dude is a proper conspiracy theorist. Old school. There's something deeper behind everything at all times. And I'm not talking about like chemtrails. I'm not talking about like government operations. There's something deeper behind everything that happens all the time. Hillary Clinton went on The Tonight Show. Pretty sure this was on The Tonight Show, and she was trying to open a jar of pickles, right? I don't remember what the bit was, but that's what was happening. And Alex Jones pulled it up, and right after she opened the jar, he was like, you see? Do you see what happened right there? Hillary Clinton didn't open that jar. Now, in the video, she has opened the jar. Hillary Clinton didn't open that jar. That jar was pre-opened. All right? You can tell because there was no pop. There's supposed to be a pop. There was no, I brought the same jar. I'm going to open for him right now. And this man spends a while trying to open the jar. He spends an uncomfortable amount of time trying to open the jar. I think at one point he even had a rag too. You know, like those kitchen tricks you use? He over here, you know, sometimes you like tap the top of it, you like. And he's like, I can't even open it right now, folks. That's how you know this thing right here, she didn't open that jar. So imagine Alex Jones on Epstein. No. I just think about the way that MAGA has been reacting, because it is a full-on revolt. Truly, it's a thing that they cannot fathom is happening. Whether it's Q, whether it's MAGA, or whether it's just people who have been following the Epstein case from the beginning. Because you got to remember what Epstein stands for. He is the ultimate boogeyman. He is the ultimate beacon for people that believe that all the elites are in on something together. And it's easy to make him that because he had an island, billionaires were flying around, people went to him for tax advice and for law advice. He was this financier, even though I don't think he had a law degree and he wasn't a CPA. So it's like, what are you doing with people's taxes that you helping. And so this dude, he represents a lot. He stands for a lot in conspiracy theory world and in just the regular world. This is someone who has ties to billionaires, to royalty, who come to him for horrific acts. And now you're telling us, there's nothing else to see here. There's nothing else to see between, me and him especially. There's nothing. Don't look. Stop. 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 And so then Trump, for his part, is watching this whole thing go down, and he's watching people argue about it in front of him, people who are, in his administration and on his side, argue about the best way to handle it, going back and forth. Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Cash Patel, all names that sound like they're about to be called down on The Price is Right. Like, all three of them are constantly going at it because then, Bongino is upset with Pam because he thinks that Pam overpromised and underdelivered and everything. Why would you even say that this stuff was coming unless you had a plan? You were just talking in front of the camera. And then Pam is going back at him, and Trump's watching this whole thing. And then in a press conference, they even asked him, they actually asked Pam Bondi a question about the tapes and the DOJ's memo and everything. And Pam Bondi was ready to answer. She was about to speak, and Trump interrupted her. He's like, hey, look, are we still talking about this guy? Why? Like years, like why? Like everybody's talking about this dude. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm sick of this for you, Pam. You don't even feel like answering, do you? And Pam didn't catch. She wasn't quick enough. She was like, no, I don't mind answering. And I know Trump had to be sick when that happened. It's like, no, go ahead and answer then. And, Pam Bondi talked about how they had released a lot of stuff, because there's a difference between releasing evidence around a case or releasing vital information or declassifying things and then releasing stuff, right? So they released a bunch of stuff to look like they were releasing something. Like they released the videotape of the night that Epstein got up out of here. And the problem with the tape is that it's always been talked about as if there was a tape of his cell that would prove definitively that like nothing untoward happened, right? But the tape isn't of like Jeffrey Epstein's cell with him sitting there and everything. It's of like a hallway. And you're giving a tape to conspiracy theorists. They're gonna do some extra looking. There's like 10 hours of tape. But there is 61 seconds missing. I don't know how long it takes to kill somebody. But if there's 61 seconds missing, I'm assuming that takes 50 seconds and gives you 11 seconds to get down the hall. And I'm not even saying that's what happened, by the way. I'm just saying 61 seconds, that's weird. And they asked Pam Bondi about it. And Pam Bondi is like, look, it's a very old system from the 90s where the tape resets at midnight. So it takes a second to like reset. And that's why 61 seconds are missing. And I had a lot of questions. I had a ton of questions. My first question didn't even concern Epstein. My first question was, why are you telling everybody that? Because, that is very valuable information if you're a prisoner in that. Because you know what they play in prison, the news. You probably sit there in Gen Pop like, wait, it what? Every day? I gotta go take care of something. So she says, look, this is the way that system works. So we're actually going to be supplying more video footage to show that there's a minute missing every night. And I was like, why would you say that? The people in prison can hear you. But also, that's a pretty bad system. It was supposed to be watching somebody, and it takes a minute to blink. That's pretty wild. That it's just gonna be missing every day, and you're telling us that like it's not an issue at all. Felt crazy to me. And then they release the video, and then people go digging, they go looking. And one of the things they find is that the video has been doctored. Somebody at some point read the video through Adobe Premiere and did something. And I'm not saying, look. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Adobe Premiere, all right? All I'm saying is I would have thought the government, with all their resources, you know what I mean? Like the government would have like a special program. That just feel pretty cheap to make an Adobe Cloud account that you run this Epstein tape through. Like nobody's gonna know. So then people are wondering about the missing minute. They're wondering about how this video has been tampered with. And then even people who watch the full 10 hours of the video, because you gotta remember, some of these people are dedicated. They're like, there's actually a guard that leaves one way and never comes back, which proves that there's two ways to enter that hallway. And I was like, oh man, he's so screwed. Trump, he's very good at creating a distraction, and he tries. He did his best. He said that he was gonna revoke Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. On any other day in American history, that would be a headline. Any other day, that'd be wild. And look, Rosie O'Donnell and Donald Trump have what I think is now like a 20-year feud going on, which is absolutely insane. The President of the United States has the ultimate and deepest beef. His arch nemesis is the actress from Harriet the Spy. That is mind-boggling. The leader of the free world is ready to have it out at any given moment with the voice actress from the main gorilla in the Disney movie Tarzan. The man with his fingers on the button for the nukes has a deep hatred in his heart, decades long, for Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award winner Rosie O'Donnell. This is an unacceptable timeline. That is crazy. I don't even know what Rosie O'Donnell did that day. Like, I don't know what even brought it up. But he says, I'm thinking about revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. If Ireland wants to keep her, they could have her. And any other day, this would be the story. He knows that. Who knows? Look, I'm of two minds about this thing because it is clearly a distraction, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I'm of two minds about this thing because, one, obviously, there's a world where he's just like saying stuff to say stuff to like swiftly like move the news cycle in another direction, and he may not do anything. But the fact, as a sitting president, that he would even muster up the corner of his thumbs to put that into a phone to go out to the world is so deeply insane. Because this thing that he's doing now is not just a step too far, it's the entire field too far. Rosie O'Donnell is an American citizen, a citizen. And so if he can do that, then truly, truly, 100%, without a doubt now, nobody is safe. What started this whole like immigration, fear-mongering, you gotta remember, because you have to understand, as a platform, people have been running on it as long as there have been, green cards and immigration programs. Oh, is it a little too much? Oh, we don't like what it's doing to the landscape of our neighborhood and everything. And people have won votes on it. That's nothing new. But what's turned is the way that people are openly nasty and disgusting about it. There's always been racism in it. It's mainly what it is, because if you really cared about people coming over the right way, the legal way, then you would make the right way and the legal way clear, and you wouldn't kidnap people at their green card interviews, and you wouldn't have like mass people picking people up after baseball practice, okay? If that's what you cared about. And you also, you've structured this thing to make these people seem like monsters. That's been the plan this entire time, because if somebody is a monster, it is part of the human condition and a flaw that we have. As long as we see somebody as a monster, whether they are or not, we don't really care what happens to them. It's why they can make conditions in prison so bad, because the assumption is, well, everybody that's there deserves to be there, so screw them, right? If they don't have clean water, or if they can't shower, or if their food's contaminated, good. Because they did something bad to earn that place, right? And it helps you strip the basic humanity of looking at another person, whether they've made a mistake or not, or looking at another person, whether from a different country or not. And if you get really good at stripping that humanity away, you can do whatever you want. And then you start to be able to do whatever you want to anybody that you want. And that's what's been creeping up this entire time. What started as like, guys, they're eating the dogs. Remember, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Nobody's pets are safe. It was getting so dumb. It was past like, these are criminals and they're killing us and they're coming over here to do terrible things. And then it started to morph a little bit more. Okay, look, I know that they're going through the proper channels and everything, but they have a misdemeanor in another country. Do we really want somebody like that to become a citizen? Maybe we should deport them now. No, I understand that they have their green card, but they also, I don't know, they have this weird past I don't like, or they wrote an op-ed I didn't like, or they said a thing that I didn't like. So do we really want someone like that in our country? I know that they are a fully naturalized citizen, but the way that they became a citizen is a little bit under suspect, because I said so just now. So maybe we'll deport them. And now we're all the way to the point that American citizens that I do not like can be gone. And so you see, when you let somebody's humanity get stripped away over and over and over again, and it's in the back of your head, and you even go with the lie. They probably did something, or maybe they shouldn't have done that thing, or maybe they have a good reason. When you do that enough and it finally comes for you, don't be surprised. Because the thing with the Rosie O'Donnell, it's like there's a part of it that I think is nothing. I'm not saying that thing is absolutely going to happen. I'm just also saying that the fact that he even fixed his fingers to put it out is a problem. And normally, on any other day, it would have been such a problem that it's what everyone on the news would have been talking about. But this was a different day. This was a day where Dan Bongino is so upset he doesn't even report in to work. He's tired of arguing with Pam Bondi. He might resign. Other people are talking about resigning. This Epstein thing isn't going away. And so then Donald Trump did what he does best, what he does in a crisis, and what he does when it counts. He made it worse. Like a kid throwing a rock through his own window. He makes it so much worse. And now Trump is dealing with that fallout. There are people calling for Pam Bondi to resign. There are people that are asking Trump extra questions. And then Trump crashes out spectacularly while y'all were probably parking. And so I'm gonna do this real quick. I don't like to use my phone or bring my phone out often, but I have to read you what Trump posted. And admittedly, look, I'm gonna read every word that he posted, all right? but I will be doing it the way that I read it in my head. This is insane. What's going on, my boys? Boys in quotations. Oh no, what's going on with my boys? Boys in quotations. And in some cases, gals? Also in quotations. Are you asking us a question about what's going on with them, or are you confused about the gals specifically? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job, all caps. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect, all caps, administration, the talk of the world, all caps, and selfish people, in quotes, are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies. What? I'm not saying that Trump killed Epstein. I'm not saying that at all. I'm like specifically not saying that. I need you to understand that I am explicitly not saying that Trump killed Epstein. I'm just saying that if I was like driving in my car and I hit somebody and I somehow got away with it, but I saw them every time I closed my eyes, I'd be like, this guy never dies. All over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. This is a man who hasn't slept. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama? You know what's so good about files written by Obama is that Trump was sitting there knowing he know Epstein. Trump knows Epstein so well. They were friends. Trump lived so close to Epstein in Florida that Epstein had to knock on his door and let him know he was on the sex offender registry. Like, that's how close they lived together. He knocked on the door, was like, hi, the court has ordered me to notify you that I'm in the area. I have been convicted of a few crimes, and I left my suit jacket over here last night, so that's crazy. By Obama, and it's a list. It's a list. It's why are we giving publicity to files? You know what it also is? This man was sitting here knowing that he knows Epstein. He's sitting here knowing that this looks very bad. And he did the DOJ thing, even though it's not directly tied to him, even though the president isn't allowed to interfere. He clearly did the DOJ thing where he told them to shut it down. And now people are rebelling against him. And he's sitting there like, how can I make it DEI? Obama. Thanks, Obama. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration? So I guess they were all in a room in this scenario, and they wrote the files together in tandem. Like, Obama just knew that everyone in the Biden administration would be in the Biden administration one day, so he gathered them all together. But this is also before Epstein ever died or anything, so Obama time traveled to like right after to know it would hurt Trump, so then he came back in regular time and he sat down Hillary Clinton, Comey, Brennan, and the loser, he had to get all the losers and criminals of the Biden administration in one room so they could write. Also, wrote the files? Isn't it a bunch of documents? And the losers and criminals of the Biden administration, I do like that he said there are criminals in the Biden administration, but there are some people who aren't criminals. They're just losers. But I want to make sure I address them too. You're not safe. You're not safe just because You're not a criminal if you're a loser as well, all right? In fact, you're a loser because you're not a criminal, all right? I have 34 felony convictions, and I'm the president, okay? You out here not even a criminal. You can't even criminal good. Loser. And the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with Russia, Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, intelligence is in quotes, the laptop from hell. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I really don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like Hunter Biden's laptop or a laptop with Hillary's emails on it, or if he just had a bad experience with an HP laptop. But like, that is also in all caps. The laptop from hell and more, ? They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake, all caps, Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. And now my so-called friends, this man hurt because my so-called friends, as a world leader, my so-called friends is the most Regina George Mean Girls line I've ever heard in my entire life. My so-called friends is wild. Foreign diplomats, world leaders had a dinner that Trump was at, and they made fun. This is his first term. They made fun of him at the dinner. He could probably hear him in the background. They were laughing. It was like Boris Johnson and Justin Trudeau and other people, and they were over here doing him. They were over here like just making fun of him hard, cracking up, talking about how he doesn't know how to spell, everything. They were getting him good. They were roasting him. And then this man comes back to the U.S. and I'm pretty sure it was Fox News that played the tape that somebody got of them making fun of him, not with a bunch of audio, and his head was down a little bit. You could tell his feelings were hurt, for real. And he was looking down and everything. And he just said, yeah, I didn't know that, like, they were, like fake like that or anything. Even in that moment, he didn't say my so-called friends. My so-called friends is insane. And now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? And this is good. This is clever. He's doing what he does. This is the Republican talking point that's going to go around. Look for it over and over and over again. Well, why didn't Biden release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could hurt Trump, that could derail MAGA, why didn't he release it? All right, that's the most I know you are, but what am I logic I've ever heard in my life? Because you're the president now, so you could release them. I know that Biden didn't release them, but you could release them. You could. You could release them if you wanted. You could, like I dare you. No, I was just saying, like I dare you. I bet you won't. I bet you're too scared. I bet you won't. But you could. I know Biden did it, but you're the president now, and I thought you were a better president, so you could. You could do anything that Biden didn't do. You said that. You were like, there's a bunch of things Biden can't do that I can do that only I can do, and one of those things is release the Epstein files. Like, do it. I bet you won't do it, though, because you're scared. No, it's just funny, man. This man, he's going through it. Why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or the MLK Jr. files, which is a terrible idea to bring up different conspiracy-laden things while you talk about there not being a conspiracy. That's crazy. That's a terrible move. This man is derailing. No matter how much success we have had securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons, it's never enough for some people. This man is spiraling. It's never enough for some people is not what a president says. It's never enough for some people is not how you speak as a president. That's how you speak as a dad who just finished a 16-hour shift and somebody tells you to take out the trash. It's never enough for you people. Every day, I've been awake for 24 hours. It's my birthday. Yeah, thanks for the time. It's never enough for some people. We are about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years. And that's true. That's true. We're all going to die. And we have so much more to do. We are saving our country and making America great again, all caps, which will continue to be our complete priority, all caps. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job, all caps. She's great, all caps. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing in 2024. That's what she's looking into as AG, and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead, all caps. Now it's the hottest, all caps, country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There's a thing I read about a long time ago. There was this leader named Father Yod, and Father Yod was the head of the Source family. The Source family was this collection of people. Some people called them a cult and everything, but they mostly kept to themselves. Like, they ran like a vegan restaurant, I think, and they just minded their own business. But one of the most interesting things about Father Yod was Father Yod told them early on, before it was ever even really a cult, before there were even a lot of members, I'm God, and don't go to a hospital. That was his thing. And that happens in a lot of cults, by the way. Don't go to the hospital because hospitals are full of experts who can provide answers that I can't. So if I can cut you off from other experts, if I can cut you off from people reasoning in a way that is just direct with logic, I've already started to bring you into the fold in a way that you'll never leave. And so Father Yod would tell them, don't go to a hospital, right? And so they didn't. Members of the Source family would not go to a hospital. And they did what I would say was generally well for a cult as far as length. A lot of cults fall apart in those first few years. You know what I mean? First year, everything sort of starts out good. Everybody's just having a good time, making friends, living in a commune and everything. And then year two, somebody try to get you to drink something or do something else. Just people start coming for your mouth, you know what I mean? And all sorts of ways that get uncomfortable, and that's usually when the cult falls apart, because there are people that are like, ooh, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna drink that, ooh, that's weird, no, I'm gonna go, right? And then that's when leaders sort of crumble and start having power grabs, and they get paranoid and everything. This didn't really happen, at least from what I read, to the Source family, Father Yod, and they stayed together long enough that there were members of the community that started coupling and even having children. And it got to the point where they were about to have the first baby born into the Source family, but they can't go to a hospital. They can't go to a hospital, and something feels wrong. And no one can really describe what it is, but basically this member starts going into labor in real time. So everybody is looking over to Father Yod. You know, you said you were God. You told us not to go to the hospital. I think you're going to have to deliver this baby. And so this man does it. He delivered the baby, but when the baby came out, it wasn't making any noise. And it wasn't moving at all. And people started crying. Everyone was devastated. There was so much joy around having a new person in the family. And Father Yod, he did something. I don't know what he did, but the members described it as him just clearing the airway gently a little bit, and out of nowhere, after all that silence, after no movement, the baby cried and it started moving. And if he thought he had followers then, if he thought that they were believers then, we don't need a hospital. And got to the point where one day Father Yod was like, you know what? I'm done with this whole like earthly thing. I'm tired of healing y'all and everything. Everybody coming up to me all the time. I got a cold. Because that's what he would do. People would like have a cold and then he'd be like, blah, 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 and then they would still have a cold and they just get over it in 2 weeks because it was a cold, right? But then when they finally got over the cold, he'd walk by and be like, did it? And it's like, all right, well. And so this one day Father Yod said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a vacation. Get away from y'all for a little bit. I'll come back, but I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to take it in heaven. And so he got on a 1,300-foot cliff with a glider. Because I guess he thought he was going to glide up enough to just like get to heaven's front door or something. Like this man is truly like lost to the sauce, right? He'd been leading the cult too long. He believed him now. I wish I had half the confidence. Because that's so crazy to think you're just going to fly up to heaven and stay up there, but you also need a glider. Do you know what I mean? Like, at least people on ecstasy think they gonna just fly immediately, you know? This dude gets on the glider, takes off, and never did this before in his life. Wasn't trained or anything. And so he jumps off the cliff in the glider, and he goes perfectly down. He goes straight down. This man, a bow, right? And so the followers like, oh, he went the wrong way. And then they come down the cliff and everything, and they come to get him. He laid out. I can't even do it. He laid out. He laid out like, but not like busted up. He's not dead. He's laid out like this. And didn't have any, to what I read at least, he didn't have any significant, any substantial like bruising or markups on his body. Another miracle. You would think. Turns out everything stayed intact, but his guts were all upside down. Like this man stayed perfectly in his body, but his lungs were in his feet. Like he and so they run up on him, and he over here laid out like, I can't even do it right. Like he laid out like, when they find him, glider crash, he laid out like this. And they run up there like, Father, Father. And he's like, get me to a hospital. Get me to a hospital. Now. And the followers are like, what? And he's like, yeah, the one on 32 Roscoe, please. Hurry up and get me to a hospital. And there's different accounts of this. I'm sure that there's followers that say he never asked for a hospital. I'm sure there's followers that say he asked for a hospital immediately. But this dude is like, get me to a hospital. And then the followers are like, what? Why though? Like, you said never go to a hospital. You said that that's not real science in there. You said that you get sicker if you go to a hospital. We can't take you to a hospital. And he said, get me to a hospital. I'm serious. Oh, I feel something upside down. You know what it probably sounded like? I mean, I'm not there. We don't have the footage or anything. But I imagine if you fall 1,300 feet down, you probably sound like that grape lady. Remember that grape lady that was crushing the grapes? Then she fell, and then she went, arr, 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 arr. Off camera, we didn't see her. Because I'm sure when he said, get me to a hospital, they really didn't understand what he was saying at first, because he was like, go on. Get me to a, I think my spine behind my balls. Get me to a hospital. But then my man looked intact. So they're like, no, he doesn't need a hospital, he just needs rest. And then he died 9 hours later. And so when I see the way that like MAGA is turning on Trump, it just feels so much like, why would you? Wait. Why would he lie? He really doesn't understand. Trump truly doesn't understand why this thing won't go away. And it's because he doesn't understand people. You know, whether it's, you know, the MAGA base, whether it's Q, whether it's anybody online, anybody interested or concerned about anything to do with Epstein, all those people are people. So if you lead people on and you lie to people, they have a reaction. You can't just get something and give nothing in return. And people won't let it go, and they won't give up on it, because this man is real. He really existed. And he really destroyed a lot of lives. And for all of our faults as humans, we care about that. And so no, we're not just gonna let it go. It's not like some passing fad of a thing. I think it is to him, because he just uses what he needs while he needs it to get what he wants. And once he has it, he throws it or the person who gave it to him away. And it's something that some people are finding out right now, that he'll betray you on a dime. Nothing matters to him. Because if this thing doesn't matter to him, then nothing matters to him at all. There's no way around it. People care because vulnerable people were victimized for a very long time. And whatever part you had to do with that, it can't be covered up, because there's nothing that screams, I'm in the Epstein files, like, stop looking for the Epstein files. One thing that I thought was incredible, one thing that put a smile on my face, was when Rosie O'Donnell responded to Donald Trump talking about revoking her citizenship. And I know I don't like to pull out my phone, but I want to read you what she said. You can actually look. You can actually. This is on her Instagram, so you can actually look this up for yourself. I'm not kidding. This is crazy. So first thing she does is post a picture of Trump and Epstein together, which is genuinely hilarious. And is Rosie O'Donnell posted in the caption, "Hey Donald, you rattled again? 18 years later, I still live rent-free in that collapsing brain of yours." I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I watch the news all the time. I watch people try to defend Trump. I watch people attack Trump, and I'm chronically online. So I watch people insult Trump all day long, and I have never come across collapsing brain. Collapsing brain would actually explain everything. It would explain the made-up words. It would explain the spelling. You call me a threat to humanity, but I'm everything you fear: a loud woman, a queer woman, a mother who tells the truth, an American who got out of the country before you set it ablaze. You built walls, I built a life for my autistic kid in a country where decency still exists. You crave loyalty, I teach my children to question power. You sell fear on golf courses, I make art about surviving trauma. You lie, you steal, you degrade. I nurture, I create, I persist. You are everything that is wrong with America, and I am everything you hate about what's still right with it. You want to revoke my citizenship? Go ahead and try King Joffrey with a tangerine spray tan. I'm not yours to silence, I never was, and then it's the Irish flag signed Rosie. And if I'm being honest, I just never expected. Like, I never expected the president of the United States to be so effectively eviscerated by one of the supporting actresses from A League of Their Own. Like, it just feels wild that this is life. Philly, y'all been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I hope you had a fantastic time. I had so much fun with you. Thank you for an incredible weekend at the Fillmore. Thank you for 8 sold-out shows. I appreciate you so much.